While it has its problems, I feel people underestimate how impactful Mass Effect 3's story is. Even though the Reaper War, as it's referred to in-game, has its flaws, when it's written well, it gives the player some of the best moments in the series, and great conclusions to different characters and aspects of the setting, both in terms of writing quality and variety. Just look at the ways that Priority Tuchanka can end. However, that's not the only reason for this video. Instead, it is linked to a larger video series I have planned. Setting out a timeline for the events of the game, since not only is there a large amount of content players who have only experienced the game through Legendary Edition will have missed, but there aren't all that many YouTubers making videos about this type of content for Mass Effect. Now with this video specifically, I have two goals. 1. Set out the parameters for which I am using for my starting point, and which decisions I choose to reference. 2. What I feel is a good sense of time over which this game takes place by piecing together what we do know. Let's start with the first point, as it is the easier one to sort out. Since it was my first experience with the trilogy, I will largely be using my original Legendary Edition playthrough as a basis, which means that Kaidan, Rex, all the squad mates for Mass Effect 2, with all loyalty missions completed successfully, will be the squad mates that carry over into Mass Effect 3. Along with this, my playthrough was largely, not fully, Paragon, so Mass Effect 2 prerequisites for events like the best case scenario for the Genophage cure and the Quarian-Geth conflict will be available. Since it was played through Legendary Edition, all DLCs were also completed. Now for the more complicated part. In Mass Effect 3, we only get a few points referencing the passage of time, so I'll start at the end to put everything in context. Both dialogue options in the conversation with Tali describe the time since Shepard was on Earth as months, but the Renegade option confirms that it meant the time that was spent bringing the galaxy together, so that gives us the general time frame for the overall game. Even though I don't take these conversations as 100% canon due to how they work, one of the ambient conversations from Citadel DLC references the year as still being 2186, so that, combined with an article accessible in-game, seemed to suggest that the conflict didn't last a full year. Although we don't have any context for where this falls, the Quarian states that
17 days ago, with precision strikes on 4 Geth systems, the Quarians initiated the war to retake our homeworld.
With references to in the early game mentioning their mysterious disappearance and other anomalies regarding their species, with the details being clear to the player that it was set up for their renewed war with the Geth. During this questline, Hackett also refers to the loss of Earth as
"We only lost Earth a few weeks back,"
which could be viewed as meaning anything up to just under 2 months. Arguably, the biggest reference for this question is after Priority Thessia, which mentions that the Reapers attacked the planet Tiptree 2 weeks prior. Although the conversation involving an Asari Huntress deployed to the planet can be encountered on the player's first trip to the Citadel, the planet doesn't get mentioned anywhere else until one of the news reports posts Priority the Citadel 2, which is one of the reasons why I don't view the ambient conversations as 100% canon in their placement. Instead, with them being insights into what is happening in the wider galaxy. From these, it seems like an easy way to view the events of the game as following for the mid-game. Priority the Citadel 2 happens, Shepard visits the Quarians between 3 to 7 weeks after the start of the game, and solves the conflict in a few days. Then approximately 2 weeks after Citadel 2, Shepard gets sent to Thessia, which would then give the game up to that point between just over 1 month and just over 2 months for its events to happen. From here, Priority Horizon takes place immediately after Thessia, and then a natural gap of time as Hackett and Shepard focus on making sure everything is ready as possible before the point of no return quests. Earlier in the game, Garrus' dialogue during Priority Palaven indicates that the battle for the planet was in its 3rd day at least by the time of the quest, potentially more due to having received confirmed statistics for the battle's impact, although this links to a few of the specified dates that we have from the tie-in material. Aside from a random and seemingly unrelated date in one of the live-action trailers, the majority of dates provided place Mass Effect 3 as starting in late September to early October 2186. While I won't be relying on these dates to speculate about specific dates for other events after this video, as the last date is listed as 5th of October 2186, before Priority Palaven, They do provide a point that can also be used to infer when different events in the game took place. Using the prior estimates, Mass Effect 3 would take place up to November or December 2186. A few months worth of time to encompass all the side content and DLCs, while still falling within 2186, like the mentioned conversation. For other points to place the unseen time jumps, I theorise it would take a standard week, give or take, between Priority Palaven and Zerkesh to account for the logistics between the two quests, which opens the door for side quests and early game Citadel content, and an unidentified amount of time for the Genophage cure to be developed to give a slightly more reasonable time frame for the Crucible's construction, and a few weeks for the aforementioned time jump between Horizon and the end of the game, to account for the logistical matter of gathering the forces required to fight the Reapers at Earth, and to give Leviathan a chance to have an impact on the war effort, since dialogue between it and Shepard, combined with the Prothean VI's dialogue during Priority Thessia, implies that Shepard didn't realise that the Crucible wasn't a Prothean creation until receiving confirmation directly from a Prothean-based source. Also, as a warning before this video series starts, I might go into hyper-focused detail on some of the content that exists outside the various main and side quest levels, while cutting down on descriptions of the content that the majority of Mass Effect fans will have experience with and memory of. Since there aren't many Mass Effect YouTubers that cover this side of content, likely because of the branching path options, I don't have as complete a grasp on what to focus on than if I were talking about this type of topic for a different franchise. For similar reasons, and some of my choices for when to discuss certain quests or other pieces of lore will largely be based on thematic reasons, such as discussing Leviathan and DLC and Omega DLC alongside each other, due to not knowing where else to mention them. For the in-universe blog post type tie-ins, I will mainly be referencing the ones that provide wider context for the events, rather than stuff that I feel would be covered by discussing the main events of the storyline.